One thing I've been meaning to do for a while is get in this freezer and find all the lost, forgotten pieces of beef that I know are in here. So I'm going on a little bit of a treasure hunt. Oh, okay. I knew I had stew meat. That's a good one to have. I'm on a search. Oh, this is my last package of ground beef in my freezer. I think that's some sort of a sign. And over by the ice cream, a gorgeous London broil. I definitely want to use that. And there is one more thing I saw the other day. Oh, there it is. Right on top of the frozen cherry pie. Bottom round steak. So my plan is to thaw these out overnight and then spend the whole day cooking nothing but beef dishes tomorrow. So I'm gonna go put these in the fridge to thaw, and then I think I better go figure out what I'm gonna cook tomorrow. We are cattle ranchers, and as such, we often have a whole beef in our freezer. But one thing you don't know is that when you have a whole beef in your freezer, all the good stuff disappears first. The steaks, the really good chuck roast, and then you're left with a freezer full of meat you're not sure what to do with. A lot of roasts, a lot of odd cuts of beef. Well, that's the stage I'm in right now. So yesterday I decided to thaw out a whole bunch of those odd cuts of meat and whip up some tasty dishes with them. I'm gonna start with a batch of slow cooker Sunday stew. It is out of this world scrumptious, and it helps me empty that freezer full of beef faster so I can get a new one. Okay, I just browned a whole bunch of beef. I salted and peppered it, sprinkled it with flour before I fried. I'll start with a bed of big chunks of onion. I've also got big chunks of carrots. Love carrots in stew. Some mushrooms. These are just brown mushrooms. You can use white, a mix of wild mushrooms, anything you want. With stew, there aren't many rules at all. I've got some fresh herbs, rosemary and parsley, and I'm just gonna throw them in whole. This is gonna cook for so long that all the flavors will definitely have a chance to release. I have some red potatoes, and I scrubbed them really well, cut them into chunks. I like stew to be rustic, so I do not peel potatoes when I make it. This is where the beef goes in. For the meat, I used rump roast. Rump roast is one of those meats I never can quite tell what to do with, but really it's great. If you cook it long enough, it turns out yummy and tender. But I am not content just to use beef in my beef stew. I'm gonna cut some fried bacon into chunks. It can't hurt, can it? A little bacon makes everything more delicious, except maybe breakfast cereal. Sprinkle that on. Now, every stew needs a really good cooking liquid, and what better way to whip up one than to pour in some beer? I've just got a bottle of beer. I'll pour about half of it in. I know just what to do with the rest. That'll come later. And then I always add a little bit of tomato paste to any stew recipe I use. Gonna add most of the can, some garlic. Ooh, garlic and beer, how good does that look? And a dash of Worcestershire sauce. And then I'll whisk this together. Kind of a strange combination, but trust me, when you pour it into the stew and it cooks for hours and hours, it just turns magical. That looks great. So this gets poured all over the top. Now, because of the tomato paste, that's pretty thick, so I have some beef broth, and I'll pour in just enough till it starts to come up the side. Any kind of roast that is stuck in your freezer for a long time needs many, many hours to cook for it to be tender. If you have cooking liquid in there, it'll happen even faster. One last thing to add, I just can't help myself. A whole jalapeno, I just sliced it in half, didn't even seed it. That is gonna be one yummy stew. I'll put the lid on, set it on low for 6 hours, and that is gonna be dinner for the Drummond house. Take a look at how it's gonna play out. First, I'll make buttery parsley lemon noodles to go on the side. I'll melt butter with olive oil and throw in garlic, parsley, and lemon zest. Mix it together. Then add the fettuccine and toss it around. Look at how it all coats the pasta. Yum. Then the juice of a lemon, a sprinkling of salt and pepper, a quick toss, and it's ready. So everybody gets a big heap of noodles on their plate. Then the stew, beef, vegetables, and gravy. Simply delicious. A little parsley, and that's the whole scrumptious package. One word, beef-alicious.